now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to another Dangerous Liberty Podcast live. I'm excited. We finally got it done. You guys have no idea what work has gone into this model. We got links to the model down below, so feel free to go download it. I'll tell you right now, some of you and your computers are not going to be able to run this, and that I can't fix. What I can tell you is that there's been a lot of work that's went into this model to make sure that we got it as small as humanly possible, as digitally possible, while making sure that it maintains its accuracy. And we're going to go through all of that tonight. I want to say hi to everybody over in the comments real quick before I bring CJ and Peter on. I want to say hi to Lori Matthews. Always love seeing you, Lori. Con, like to see you. Jeff Johnson, A.M. Atkinson, NC, Amy BP, GS70 Stealth, Kitsilpai. Good to see you. I don't know if I've ever seen your name before, so welcome. Everybody that's tuning in for the first time, welcome. We do this live stream every Wednesday, and of course, when we do have special events or, I feel froggy, we go live. So make sure you like, subscribe, all those things. Make sure you hit that bell notification button and select all. YouTube is no friend of ours. A lot of people tell us they'll get those alerts days later after a live stream. Thank you, YouTube, for all that you do to censor truth and conservative values in general. All right. As always, folks, we encourage disagreement, but we are not going to tolerate name calling. If you can't be an adult, then you can't be here. It's as simple as that. But without further ado, and again, we will be taking questions throughout this. I am going to prioritize super chats, but without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring on CJ and Peter. So welcome to both of you.
Hey, Gary. How you doing? Hey, chat.
Thanks, Gary.
Hey, Peter. How are you, CJ? And I just want to say right now, number one, Peter is the one that did the flyover with me out at UVU. He did an excellent job with that. We got pressed for time. We got stopped by UVU. We tried to play their game and do all the paperwork, do all the things, do it right. And then by the time we actually got to fly the drone, it was almost 4 o'clock. We were losing daylight. The long story short, we went off campus. We made things happen. CJ has spent hundreds, probably a couple of hundred hours at this point in manpower. He's had a whole team going through this. So what we're going to do is, number one, I'm going to have Peter lay out the accuracy of what he did. And then I'm going to have CJ go through the model itself. We're going to talk about the inclusions in the model, which is the tent, Charlie Kirk, many other elements. And then we're going to show you that. And then towards the end of this, what we're going to do is we're going to go through a tutorial. So for those of you that have downloaded this software and have downloaded this 3D model, we want you to make sure that it's not our user-friendly program. We'll just tell you that. So we want to make sure that your settings are correct. And then CJ is going to, show you how to do everything. And then the good thing is that this podcast is recorded. So if you forget how to do something, you can come back to it, and you can go through that portion of the tutorial all over again. So Peter, we're going to bring you on first. Let's talk a little bit about what the 3D drone survey is, how it works, how accurate it is, and all those things. So take it away, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so what we did is I brought, for anybody who's familiar with drone mapping, I brought my DJI Mavic 3, which is a specific mapping drone. And Gary and I arrived on site around 9 in the morning, walked through a whole bunch, and about, I want to say 10:30, we found a good spot to start the mapping. And I put the drone up, put it at about 150 feet. It would take about 2 hours to complete the whole flight of the whole campus, because we wanted to basically capture every building so we could see every angle. Now, about 30 minutes in, Gary had a small conversation with a law enforcement officer, very nice guy. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, did you sign the liability form from the university?" I'm like, "No, we weren't able to get somebody to tell us." So he's like, "Yeah, you're grounded. You have to bring it down." And as Gary said, we then spent a couple hours meeting with people from UVU, where actually some of the people were very helpful, were trying to help us get through the day. The one person who had to give the final approval was not on site that day. He was at an off-site meeting. And I think it was about 2 or 3 o'clock. I said to Gary, so we're not going to be able to do this anymore today. I said, unless we move off campus. So I scouted an area where we could take off the drone and have good visibility of the whole university. And that way I could also maintain line of sight on my drone. And by the time we got started, there was, as you could see in some of the interviews that Gary's done, it was a beautiful sunny day. But at the end of the day, there was rain coming in. So it was getting dark. It was getting more cloudy. And to be able to complete the whole flight of the campus, I had to go higher because if I go higher, it takes less time. And it took us still a little over an hour. And I had to stop a couple times because it started to rain. And the drone is not waterproof. So we had to do that. And as such, we flew it at 200 feet. Now, if you fly any map with a drone, there is something what they call ground sample distance. And it's basically an expression of what is the size or accuracy of the map. At 200 feet, I get a ground sample distance of 1.45 inches. So let's say 1.5 inches. That means every pixel in the image is 1.5 inches. Now, for any of the measurements, when you do this kind of mapping and turn it into a model, the accuracy is within 2 to 3 times that GSD. So we are accurate between basically 3 to 4.5 inches in this map. Now, the total map that we made was 164 acres. Now, just to give you an idea. Now, that gave CJ a heart attack because even his computers couldn't process it. So we had to actually reduce the total size of the map to, I want to say, about 40% of the campus. And even then, it was still very, very difficult to crunch the enormous amount of data that was put into that model. And so in the end, you come down to anywhere between, like I said, 3 to 4.5 inches of any measurement in there. That's a maximum error in there.
So Peter, compared to like Google Earth, like where are we as far as comparing to Google Earth? Because there are some pretty significant differences that I found from Google Earth between this and the Google Earth and the map that we have. I won't say significant, but there's differences, right?
Yes, and it is different in the sense of just visual, right? The maximum zoom you can do on Google Maps is way less.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking it up because I don't know it by heart. What the kind of like maximum? I'll ask.
Not that big a deal. The other thing that is important though, when it comes to the accuracy of this, some people might be in there, and if you start messing with the actual elevation, there might be some differences. But explain to everybody the accuracy of relative elevation from rooftop to rooftop. All that's going to fall within 4 inches or so. So even if you guys start to get into this, you're like, oh well, this according to whatever that you're looking at, let's say the MGRS or the lat long on it and the elevation are slightly different from what you get from another program or whatever else. Regardless of the actual elevation precision, the relative elevation from the ground to a building to the distances, all that stuff, folks, are going to be within that 3 to 4 inches. So it's extremely precise. Had we been able to fly slightly lower and had more daylight, we would have got a little bit more, but we did what we could.
We would have been at about 2.5 inches, and I just looked it up. Google Earth has a GSD of 30 to 100 centimeters. So you're talking, what is that? It's about 7 to 15 times worse, right? So it's like we are at 4 inches here. They are at about 25 inches. So
Well, and the other problem with Google Earth is sometimes you'll try to get like an elevation reading off of the top of a building, and it's actually taking it off the the ground. So there's some issues there as well. So
yeah, and like you said, the map is within itself is 100% accurate. But like the map could be floating slightly above what the real Earth is, but the individual or relative elevations in there are correct. It's like if something is 10 feet high, then it's 10 feet high, right? So
perfect. What else do you want to include in your part of this, Peter?
I think I'm good.
Sweet. Well, you're welcome to stick around or go watch the Super Bowl or whatever else you got going on out there. No. CJ, let's talk a little bit about what you did. We dumped all this data in your lap.
A lot of data.
And
for sure.
talk about that a little bit.
Well, we only, since you did, how many acres did you do, Peter? I forgot.
It's 164.
164 acres. I don't know what you compressed this down to, but it's a lot better. I think it's a fourth the size. We were working with about 100 gigabytes of data to start off with. I mean, I could turn on the mesh here, but it would take a while for that to show up. Maybe I'll do it here in a little bit. But as you can see, the spinning wheel on here, it does an autosave every once in a while when I do something. But the mesh in here had 255 million areas, which gave that a little over 800,000 points of reference.
Wow.
Meaning that if I was to, I could probably turn. Well, I won't do that because I don't want to mess it up. But the mesh in this thing, it looks like a wire mesh basically, and each area that he went over, if it was a bump, you can kind of see a little bit of how the mesh works when I go into each one of these little teeny tiny triangles is a mesh point, even with the grass. So all these little teeny tiny points of data is part of a mesh, and then it takes the image, a TIFF image or a JPEG image. I don't remember which one you originally saved it as. But that will conform. It knows exactly what data points, and they're always going to be triangles. And these little data points will say, well, this is that part of this JPEG image. It needs to fall on top of it and wrap around it and do all these type of things. That's what we dealt with, and it was a lot of work because we could have just thrown it up on a points a cloud software like Pix4D like we did before. It would have still been able to pretty much a huge file on the same, but we wouldn't have been able to put in all the little things that we wanted to do, like the shooter positions, the tent, getting the exact accurate measurements, which we'll go over here in a second, being able to have points of points of view to see if there's any collisions with a trajectory going towards Charlie Kirk. So there's a lot of different things that we had to, take in consideration to do this map. And the one thing is to cut it down instead of having 100 plus acres, is probably do it in, I would say 50 to 60 acres, I would say. We actually had taken this part of it out, and I had Peter, I said, send me that little nugget right there where the computer science building is, because I gotta shove it right back in there and put a subject on top of that roof.
And for people that don't know, one of the things that we did is we have taken some of the most predominant theories, and we've put shooters where people think they are, right? So again, this is not about pushing, what we think is true or anything else. What we want to do is try to help everybody out there that I feel are acting in good faith. And, anywhere that we thought there would potentially be a shooter, and where people are theorizing shooters, we put those people in those places. So you can get a real POV from that. Real quick, CJ, if you will, let's zoom in on the tent and stuff. Let's talk about the effort that you guys made to make sure that those dimensions were correct, that everything was, and I know this was multiple iterations. And I know you had a whole team working on it, and you guys were kind of sanity checking each other and going through this, that, or the other.
All right. Yeah, let's get into this. All right. Right now I don't have the shadows on because it takes a minute to render, but for this purpose, I'll go ahead and turn them on. Just let me get this into a good perspective. It is not an easy program to work around, but let's go ahead and shadow it up. There we go. All right. So yeah, let me move this over a little bit for you.
If you don't mind, CJ, take those shadows off. It's pretty dark with the shadows on.
Is it dark? Okay. Yeah, that's not a problem.
There you go.
They're much better.
Yep.
I think you're right. All right. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Just take them through how you guys got the dimensions of the tables.
All right. Well, that is a good question. All right. Let me bring this up real fast. This is an overhead of the tent. Obviously, it's after everything happened, and at first I thought it was a 12 by 12 tent. That's their standard tent.
Yeah.
But then I was like, it could be a 13 by 13. One of the references that I looked at, it was that that the tables in here were a little higher than normal. Usually you see a 60 inch by 30-inch table, which is kind of the standard for event tables and whatnot. I saw that these were up a lot higher. We do know that it was at an angle, that it was sitting on top of, the 6.5, 7-inch, pretty much a step stool.
Yep.
The back end was not. We could tell that it was behind it. We could see that it was at actually an angle. We know there was at least a 12 by 12 because they have, fire extinguisher canisters around, which is most states and most counties, especially on campuses. They say, if you have a 12 by 12, you got to have, or bigger, you have to have fire extinguishers on every leg of the tent. We do know that the normal ceiling height of tents are going to be 8 foot. If you get side panels or back panel like this is right here, that back panel is going to be 8 foot. So the ceiling height, and so we do know that we have an 8 foot high. Do we know that these legs were all the way up? To me, I would say so, because why would they put this on a 7-inch, stool, basically, or step stool? It just wouldn't make sense. They would do that and then shorten the back of this. I don't see what the point of that would be. So the table heights we got, I can't remember off the top of my head what the table height is because I've been doing so many different things. This is one of the very first things that we actually tackled. But let me go back to the measurements here. And we know that between this block right here and that block, not, on top of it, but going butt up to it, it is exactly 48 feet. Now we got that. And we looked at Google Earth Pro. We looked at Google Maps. We looked at Peter's a drone of capture of everything, and they all turned out to be 48 feet. So therefore, we went ahead and drew 48 feet. These are 1 foot blocks. There's 48 of them. We looked at the size of here. We say 13 of these blocks are actually 13 feet. That's what we got the tent. I know it's a little bigger over on this side, but once you the tent's, higher up by 8 feet, it's going to give, a couple inches, visually of difference. So we also took into consideration where all of these crowd barriers were, right? And I think I have my rendition right here. So we did that. Oh, by the way, and in this, you'll see that this is exactly 48 feet. I know it's kind of upside down here. Can I zoom into this a little bit more here? But we did, you can't see because that block's in the way, but all of these are placed properly to what you see right there, to the inch, basically. Give or take some trash here and there and whatever.
Sure.
It's these things are at angles. I couldn't get everything precisely. The main thing was the tent and the ceiling height of the tent and exactly where it was placed, because that's the most important part. And if we go back, let's see what else that we have in here. This is pretty much it. I have that. You can see that there is I want to say it's a 3-foot table right there, maybe 2 foot. I don't think we measured that. What we did with his chair is we did measure in on his chair. What's my phone? Let's go back to this. We did measure in on his chair height, and his chair height was just maybe an inch or two higher than the tables. So that gave us that Charlie's neckline would be at 6-foot height. Okay. And then with the ceiling being at 8 plus 7 inches. So that way, people in the crowd could see him spanning down and whatnot, and it worked out as far as the height of the tent. So we do know that his neckline, some people thought he was at 5 foot. And I was like, he's, I think 6'3", 6'4",
6'4" or 5.
6'4". I mean, that's, he's a pretty tall guy.
Yeah.
And so we just did some basic measurements, sitting in a chair. My best friend, he's 6'4", set him in a chair, and then kind of got the same kind of stature and whatnot. But other than that, it was pretty simple for us to get these type of things done. But let's go back to this real fast, and I want to get an overhead view. Anybody who's wants to download this map and figure it out, there's a lot of things under this right here that you can find to get to your views. So where are we at here? Here we go. All right. So getting the placements proper. I should have spun this out a little beforehand. Ooh. You can tell it's a little jittery here. All right, so you can see where everything is placed. His tent was actually tilted a little bit. I'll go ahead and show you this real fast. Where did I drop that at? That was not what I was looking for. I thought I had this back.
I think most people saw that.
I
think that's probably good. Yeah, it was definitely the left edge there was pulled away a little bit more from the walkway or that.
Correct. And also there was a pillar right here. Okay. And we had to measure, and we got pretty good accurate measurements, between these hatches. So we think that we have this, pretty, and we actually measured from here to here and did all kinds of things. So we think that we're, within an inch or two of the model itself based on the actual map itself. So, all right,
unless you got something else, take them through the point of view, the picture shots that you have built into this, which I thought were freaking super.
All right, so yeah, I can do the named views of these people. So basically, here's like just the opening perspective to see everything, and then of course, these point of views are what are important. This is coming from the top of the Lucy building, where I think that it's a fair bet that that's where the shot came from. I'm not going to argue about rifles or sound trajectories or anything. I'm just there's point of views we're looking at here, and this seems like the most likely one.
We got multiple point of views built into this, folks, and if you can get crazy and you figure this program out, you can build in more for sure.
Yeah. So. I think I got 7 total in here. I'm not there was no a whammy gun or squib or anything like that, or anybody in the crowd. I think that was just ridiculous to even put that into here. But so we have the Lucy building, and then behind that we have one that you've always been bringing up, which is the computer science building. Here's a wide perspective. I just wanted to make sure that there was no collisions with anything. I don't know how in the hell he's doing this, because that's a steep slope to try and do anything.
Agreed.
I mean, even if I was to, make that as level as possible, I'll do it this way. Let me turn a couple layers off so I can get through this. We've got, there we go. Oh, they're all unlocked. Good. So I can click on them and move around. That's a pretty hefty slope.
Yeah.
I did not calculate the degrees of that, which I could. However, that's a good slope. Now, these lines also have this for you as well, the trajectory paths. Each one of them is going to give you, like if you click on the line, so that's coming from the science building that's 315 yards away. I think I had the Lucy building at 138 yards away. Let me go back to our images here. Oh, we're going to have to spin elevator music, please. Do its autosave.
The other thing, folks, is you'll be able to draw lines on here on your own, and it will give you the distance and the slope for that. And you'll also be able to, if you want to draw a line from way over here to way over there, you'll be able to see whether or not that line intersects. At least that line of sight intersects with other material objects, obviously the buildings, and whether it's, whatever you got going on. The other thing you guys saw, there's a layer in there for the parts of the crowd. You can turn those features on or off. So if you want a clear line of sight without the crowd in the way, you can turn those things on. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this for sure, right?
Well, I would suggest that when you do unlock or turn things, I mean, I would keep everything locked as much as possible, except when you want to try to spin around a certain view, but try not to move it around, because, when you move something around, like take, for instance, him, it's going to do all kinds of funny things. You're not going to know exactly what's going on. You can move things up on each axis, but I typically I turn these on and click on it. And you actually saw the mesh there a second ago.
Yeah.
Because when you do you make sure that this gumball seaplane right here is turned on. This is really important. When that's on, then it's going to do a series of saves.
We'll get to those technical aspects.
Yeah.
People that are just kind of following along, let's go through the different POVs and kind of show them that right after the saves, of course.
This is what I dealt with for 3 weeks. And I got fast computers. I mean, I've got rocket ships. Let's see here. This was the Sorensen building with the sloped building. Again, this right here, I'll move this around just a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on here. That again was another view that we had. I had a couple of problems with this building though. For instance, when let me back up a little bit. Oh, it doesn't want to back up. I don't know why. Oh, I'm in that view. That's why. Let's here it is right here. All right. I had a little problem with this view right here because, I mean, I've got him kind of like, kissing concrete.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, that would be tough that's a 6 foot figure right there. It's between 5'11" and 6 foot, somewhere there. And I mean, every way I looked at this, I was like, he would have had to been perched up there in a different way, which he could have done. It just would have been, a bigger bubble of a person standing out. And we couldn't see that from anywhere else. I mean, these people right here would have been able to see them, because this is a genuine slope. I don't know if people see this. It's just a weird angle. Let's go to Another building here, which is off of the park garage. I do think. Um, this one was interesting. Again, it has that same type of issue where you have a slope, or you have a ledge, but this one wasn't as bad. You can see he's kind of like, hanging in air a little bit, but again, he could have been doing the same thing.
Sure.
And again, with these meshes, these triangles, instead of being completely flat, I mean, this is what's going to happen when you're shooting and it's getting later, darker, and whatnot. And we had to go so high up in the air, or Peter did, to fly the drone. And this is what's going to happen. It's not going to be, the give us an exact thing, especially we had to take these meshes and refine them down. So it even made that more of, and that was on my end, it made it more kind of like, jaggedy. We do have some good, cleaner ones that Peter has, but that file was 3 to 4 times the size of this right here. So, and I did do another angle of that one to show that trajectory did not collide with anything. However, it did come very close to the people that were standing here. And I mean, it was just over their head. And we didn't put any members right here, but it would have been, right over top of their head. And that would have been tough because Charlie moves back and forth, and to see through those bodies to get an accurate shot off would have been tough because there was a lot of people around here, even, on these ledges as well. There was a comment made about a tent that was here. It was like, it's a merch tent. A lot of people thought that it would have been in the way right here. I've looked at a couple of images that it was further over in this area.
I think that's correct too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually quite a ways out, and you can see that. You can see that from what's his name's video. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy that took the video from up here.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent video too. By the way, which is, brings me to the next set of things that I wanted to talk about, is that here he was up on, let me do this. He was up on right where these people are, and he would have seen a clear shot. And I do have a image of that, but let's just go ahead and get with this one here. This has been talked about a lot. I have tried every way to see how this would work out, but you can see how that path goes right through concrete. And in order for somebody to be out on that ledge, I mean, there were people right beneath where he is. I mean, and they're not that far away. And by the way, these people were all the way back here.
Yeah.
They would have heard and seen. I mean, they would have known that shot came from there. I can tell you that much.
And folks, that is so close. Again, just having been there and standing right behind where Charlie Kirk's tent was. I mean, how close this is so it's lost on the video. Like,
well,
I mean,
I'll give you an example here.
It's a baseball pitch away. It is like the idea that somebody would be up there and you wouldn't see them, I think is quite frankly ludicrous.
Yeah. So if we were to go out, 50 to 72, I mean, this is, these are people right here. This is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And I'm almost in the middle of, where Charlie was, perpendicular to him. So that's how close everything is. I try to do the same thing with, hold on, let me get back up here, with up here as well. But you just don't have as good as that angle right here. I'm going to try to get in as much as I possibly can. Here we go, right here. And then we have to flip our angle just a little bit. You have a tough time seeing anything on top of there.
You're right.
And you're out of angle. Yeah. And again, you're going to be seen. You're going to be seen by, I mean, if you can see where this is at.
Yeah. And there was people all over on the adjacent walkways off to the right. You have no concealment right there whatsoever.
You can see right there.
Yep.
There's no concealment at all if you're trying to take that. I mean, it would have been very difficult. And again, I could put somebody up there and do that, but you're at a slope again. That's just a hard one to swallow, in my opinion.
Let's go to the Charlie point of view that you built in. And folks, all of these what are these called? I keep saying the POVs, but you have more.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, so there's I built in here snapshots, and these are. Hold on a second. These are named views, which are just, I took a bunch of different views and said, hey, let's say we want to look at this or this or this. These are, kind of like areas of interest, that we can, kind of look at. I mean, people can make their own if they want to. It's really simple. Go up here, click on it, and then add it. But Charlie's point of view, it's right here. This is what he's seeing, and I'm gonna turn off these bubbles real fast. And this is what he's seeing.
Interesting.
Oh. You can see up here. You can see up here. I doubt he can see somebody way back here on the computer building, but he can see in my ratio here. As soon as we get the spinning balloon off of here, my aspect ratio on this is going to be. I can't remember what I put it at here. Hey, producer, I love your music. Here we go. I gotta click off here. I'm at 19. I mean, if I was to boost this up to 50, this is what he sees.
Oh.
This is coming out. This is out of his eyes, basically.
Yeah. So right now, folks, just so you know, we'll talk about basically he's looking at the lens focal length, which he has 50, and that's approximately what the human eye sees, just like if you're looking through a 50 millimeter lens. And can you pan a little over to the left? I kind of want to see where that other shooter is up on the Sorensen building.
I can try. Let me turn on something real fast. Click that guy right there and spin around him. There's the Sorensen building right there. You can see the line of path. And then the Sorensen building. I'm sorry. Right up here.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. And if we want to spin around this way, that's what we see as well. And I'll back up a little bit because we were going around him. So let me get to the tent. Working in 3D is not the easiest. I applaud gamer, people who build games and for Steam and Xbox and computers and whatnot. It's not an easy task, but we could see straight up and through here. You can see the camera. I did not put the battery pack in there, and yes, I put a red camera in there because I was tired of looking. There's a lot of stock cameras and stuff that was in there. We built the tent though.
Sure.
And here's the tables that I did want to kind of elaborate a little bit on. You get your standard table, which is right here, and height, which is 30 inches high, 30 inches depth, and 60 inches long. Those are standard tables, event tables. Of course, he wanted to be up higher, and had his banner on there and whatnot. I did put the 47s on the hats too, and gave him a little Starbucks cup because he likes his Starbucks.
Yeah, and folks, if there is, this is going to be a work in progress. So, if we find if somebody points out some things that we're going to change or include, I'll give you guys an updated, link. I think we're definitely about a 99% solution. What I want to do right now is we'll just take a few questions real quick, and I'm going to go to the super chats first. Number one, the Spire RBM. Thank you very much. Truth for Charlie, Ian, DFT, JD, HDC, RDB. I don't think I want to mess with 3D models to make a hit from Walmart that is nowhere close to the campus. Yeah, like folks, I can tell you just from the terrain, that was one of the things I was genuinely looking at while I was out there. Like, if we stepped way outside of UVU, if we increase that distance to 5, 6, 7, 800 yards, you lose all line of sight just because that amphitheater is in a defilade, and things just, again, like if it's not pretty much within there's just no line of sight. It's just the way the terrain works there. Definitely downloading. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you. Adam's video debunked all back and side shots, how the attendees reacted.
I
What I
would show that too.
that is Adam Bartholomew's, or what the argument against that GS70 is that people will say that, yeah, a sound came from where Tyler allegedly was, but a shot came from somewhere else. So that's the answer to that.
Now, there's one thing that you took in consideration, and I mean, we don't have the accurate information on the tent itself, but sometimes these vinyl tents do have a mesh to them, and they print over top of the mesh, so they have these little holes in them. Yeah. I thought that I saw that in this. I know some people had videos and pictures and whatnot, especially when you're down, in a dark area like this, and light shines through, you're going to be able to see things, but on the opposite end, not so much on this end. So, and I'm in shadow mode right here, so you can actually see that I did make this tent, at a 20%, so you can see through, just to see that this is, I'm sitting in an SUV that we have, parked underneath this a walkway, and this is the view that he has. But I mean, to be able to see through that tent, and there's some people that are standing in the way, is very difficult. But once, I was going to talk to you about this, Gary, if we can find out, is that a mesh wall that's on their tent that they printed over top of the mesh? I do know it's available out there. I don't know.
From what I saw, it did not look like a mesh. It looks like a vinyl backing. You can see shadows on the bright side. So, again, what we had there was a gap. We had a 12 o'clock sun pretty much. Mm-hmm. And there was a gap coming on. So when people walk back there from Charlie's side, you can see the shadows. I don't believe between the lack of transparency on it and the distance Charlie was from that back wall, I don't think you could see him. But I could be wrong, but I didn't see anything on there that looked like a mesh. But we will have a guest on very soon that will be able to answer that for sure. Chris Casso asks, is there a shot if the tent wasn't propped up? Yes, I do believe that there is a shot. CJ, I'm going to pull yours off for just a second. And let's see. All right. So I will tell you, I was just looking at this today. Let's pull up this file real quick. It's probably going to be a little hard to see because it is the way that it is. But long story short is, yes, I think there was a shot at his chest no matter what. I don't think that tent being propped up 6 inches made a huge difference in all of it. But it definitely gave a little bit more of a line of sight than there would be if it wasn't there. And this is the one that I want to show you. And I can't zoom in on it. But long story short, again, I have zoomed in on this, and this is a person standing up. Obviously, if they get down in the prone, the line of sight opens up. Basically, if they get down lower, the top of the tent goes upward, right? So we see a more of a view. And even from this, as I zoomed in, and I can't do it here, but as I zoomed in, you could tell that you would see his head. I think there's probably about a 6-inch clearance even from standing up. But when you get down the prone, so I don't think that, that 6-inch propping up the front legs would have changed whether or not they had a line of sight. And definitely his entire chest would have been exposed.
Yeah, I had it without the 6-7 inch propped up, and you can still see everything fine. I mean, It's I could demonstrate it, but it would take a few minutes.
Yeah, no, I don't think
I'm tired of seeing a spinning ball.
Yep. Left front cameraman is red line downward angle confirmed. Haven't seen before and after photos of the rig. Is this a case of in plain sight? Left front camera is red line drawn, downward angle confirmed.
I think they're looking at the camera that's to Charlie's 11 o'clock.
Okay.
10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
Oh, that the female was on?
Yeah. I think that's what they're talking about. Is a red line downward angle confirmed?
Look, I don't know if we're talking about anybody. Here's what I'll say. I think there's very little possibility that someone is going to get a shot off that's that close without people. I mean, everybody in that area is just so close. Like, even if you had this patsy shoot a gun and you shoot another gun, I don't care if it's subsonic. Like, you are still going to have some recoil. You're still going to have some things going on. There's still going to be clear indication that the shot came from that person, whether we're talking about palm guns, iPhone guns, people in the crowd, or even people up on the Brandon Fugel building, which is that basically to Charlie's 4 o'clock that we showed earlier that there was no line of sight. I mean, everything is just so close that it's hard to imagine that anybody could take a shot and not notice it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. This model kind of shows that he's been open from a lot of areas, except pretty much from his sides. It's difficult, and even behind, it's just hard for me to swallow.
Yeah. By Bitcoin Daily, Jake, seeing the rendition of the map with all the forensic lasers pointed at Charlie breaks my heart all over again. Thank you so much for your incredibly hard work and seeking the truth. God bless you and your family. And that goes for Peter. That goes for CJ. CJ especially. He's put more time into this than anybody else for sure. So again, thank you, CJ, for everything that you've
my pleasure.
It's been huge, without a doubt.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys the model and learning the program. I can give a couple of quick pointers on how to do things. Hey, I've had to learn along the way too.
Let's do just a quick kind of tutorial on this. Let's go through the settings real quick for people that are going to download this and work through this. Make sure their settings are good. And then a real quick tutorial on how to navigate everything, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, good. First off, I'm going to go to this. I'm on a Mac right now, showing this. So I only have the parameters I can work in. And I think that that Windows machines, and I don't think it's out there for Linux, because I tried to boot it into one of my Linux machines. It didn't work. But as far as Windows, I think it's relatively the same. I will say that there are a lot of videos out there and a lot of tutorials on Rhino 8. I think the program is awesome. I love Blender too. I think it's great, but it's overkill for this. But anyway, under the Rhino 8 up here, there is a settings. There's also another settings under file. Okay, all the way down here. So there's two set of settings that you have to go through. The first one is, and I only use a couple of these, display modes is one of the most important ones. Views is another one that I look at. I got some keyboard shortcuts that I use sometimes. I didn't use any of them tonight, but the main important one here is going to be your display mode. If everything that you're going to see up here, and I can go ahead and do this real fast. You see wireframe shaded. These are all the same views right here that you're going to see in here. I work in rendered view. If we were to turn this on to wireframe, it is, and I will when I close this, before I close this out, so people can kind of get understanding. But I work in rendered. There's a general settings. I leave pretty much all of this alone. I don't want to show. I don't want to show mesh wires in here. That's one of the problems that slows you down. Always keep on curves no matter what, because you're not going to get the trajectory levels. The grid, I leave that alone as well. Objects, I leave everything in here pretty much standard the way it is set up. I think I may have did a couple of different things, but access colors, shadows on, off, if you want to speed around, have them off. If you want to really see it in shadow mode, make it look prettier or whatever, go ahead and turn shadows on. On other, I just leave everything the way it is. That's pretty much all I do in the Rhino 8 settings. Now, when I go to file settings, there's a lot more to this one. This is where you get your number one units. I put everything, the model and the layout in feet and inches. You can change that to yards. You can change it to metric. You can change it to whatever you want to. You can put it in parsecs and megameters if you want to. It's up to you guys. Miles. I just leave it in this on both of them. Same with when you want measurements of things. My lengths are also in feet and inches. Anything else? Oh, the location. I just want to let you know that it is Salt Lake City, and it is at 40 -111, which is exactly where the tent was placed at. The elevation, I do have elevation settings. I kind of turned that off for now because when building the model, it always wants to put it on the seaplane, which I'll explain here in a minute. Rendering, there's a bunch of stuff in here that I usually leave alone. The background, you can change the background color if you want to. It's up to you guys. You can make it a gradient, but everything else, I use the dimensions that is Rhino rendered, which the current viewport is with this at 4K. But outside of that, and the spinning beach ball, outside of that, those settings I leave alone. As soon as it goes away, I'll show you another thing here. I know that my menus, you can mess around with menus on the left and the right. They're kind of a pain in the butt. I've struggled with them. All of the outside of the different types of views you can do here as far as the rendering pattern, the set views, these are all the ones that are built in. Perspective this is what we're in right now, is pretty much perspective. But I made these views right here, which are the same as these views that's going to pop up right here. These are all the same.
Perfect.
So, all right. So let's go on to this side over here, to the right side. There is a toggle wheel up here, gear wheel, and there's show panels, show toolbars. If you want to show panels, display, ground plane, layers, named layers, properties, and snapshots. Those are the ones that I have open on here. As you can see, those are the ones that I have open right here. I have another one that's open that's got more stuff to it. You can add as whatever you want. You can mess around with lighting, the sun, or I have both a sun and a skylight on here. I use a skylight because it doesn't do, as much harsh shadows. You can mess around with the ground plane. The ground plane is at -36, which means that the model, and I'll kind of show you what that means. The model that we have, let me click on something here that makes sense. The model we have, you'll notice that as soon as I get to a plane level, see how it gets deeper?
Yeah.
That's because that's the actual depth of what there is an actual depth to this beyond here. So I had to bring the seaplane up where it, well, let me try and show this again real fast. I don't know if I can show the seaplane on this stamp on here. Make a mess with it. I'll do that before the mesh wires. But there's other things you can add on here. You just go to the gears right here and go to panels or toolbars, whatever you want to. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in there you can play around with. I highly suggest, reading up on it a little bit. Don't get frustrated. And remember this, I was going to try to auto save, and you can always hit restore. I mean, that's my best advice. But if you guys are willing to look at this mesh, I'll show it to you.
Real quick before you do that, show them how to draw a line if they want to look at a trajectory if that isn't there, or
okay, drawing boxes and lines. Remember that I will have to show you the seaplane then. Around here, there's I always work in standard, but seaplanes right here, you can set a seaplane origin, which means that if I was to set it right here, that means that we're going to be spinning around this area right here instead of the subjects that I was, like spinning around this or spinning around the tent. You can set your own seaplane if you want to. This is the elevation of the seaplane right here. So if I was to put this right here, you see that mesh that just, well, let's turn this off and then you'll probably be able to see it a little easier. Now you can see that right there. That's the seaplane. And of course, I had it a lot lower. And if we were to take it and put it so it was right at Charlie's feet, that's where it would be.
Got it.
So there's a lot of little things you can do. And that's, so if you wanted to draw a line, and I'm going to do it with the map off because it is not easy doing simple lines in this, to get the length and yards and feet and whatnot. It's a simple line tool. I mean, I got to remember exactly where I put that line tool at. That's my polygon tool. Where did my darn line? See, this is what happens too: is you move things around, and I forget where I put them. I'd have to look that one up. Are there our tools here? No, I didn't. I know I moved it around. I can't remember exactly where I put it at. I don't think it was right here though. It could have been. Let me see if this is the right. No, it's not the right one.
Oh, so we could probably win.
Oh yeah, it is. It was the right one. I'm sorry. It is this one right here.
Okay.
It'll when you hover over some things, it'll tell you what it is. It's just a polyline. So when you draw a line, right, it's going to give you make sure that this gumball seaplane is turned on. When it's highlighted, it's on. So if I was just take the center, that means I'm just going to move it up from the seaplane, which is this actual plane that we set. That would be our ground level, basically, where our feet are at. If I wanted just one end to go up and I want to move around freely, make sure you click on that dot. You have to be precise. And you'll see that the gumball will turn right there. And then I can do whatever with it. So I can bring it up here and whatnot. If you want to see the length of that line, then you just go like this. There's a lot of commands you can do too. And then over here, the little thing says for commands, you can type in length and it'll pop up. You hit enter, and down here it'll say 136 feet, 5 inches.
Nice.
It's fun.
There you go, folks. All right, so people are welcome to take this, go crazy with it. I'm interested to see what goes with that. That's for sure. Let's see. We got a GS70. I just wish Charlie Security was allowed drones, and we wouldn't be talking about this. You're right. They've been allowed drones, and they've been allowed to do their own rooftop coverage. I think things would be very different right now.
I agree. I mean, I one of the things that has been bothering me, if he was so worried about his life and threats and whatnot, why wasn't he wearing, some type of protective armor? That's just, it's beyond me that wasn't part of the, that's the only thing that's just been killing me right now. This whole thing. Excuse my pun. Sorry.
No, I agree. And, yeah, we'll have some discussions on that very point. Probably this week. Not probably. It'll be this weekend. So, folks, we have a guest coming on this upcoming weekend, and I think, I think it. I don't know that it'll change anything for anyone, but we'll hear some ground truth that you definitely haven't heard before. We'll put it like that. From Rum, the only honest way to approach this case is to listen to witnesses, not accept any allegations from police, FBI, or charging documents. All right. I don't know if I completely agree with that. Here's the other problem that I have with that too. CJ, get back up in here. The other problem that I have with that too is so far when we have heard from witnesses and they don't say certain things, their character's assassinated, their credibility is undermined. Like, this person's an op, whatever else. I mean, I can tell you, I've spoken to 4 eyewitnesses that were there, 1 on the record, 3 others off the record while I was at UVU, and they all had a very consistent story. The other 3 just didn't want to come on the record, and look, I completely agree. I don't know. Like I do put a significant amount of whatever you want to call it, some credibility into the charging documents, because those are going to get cross-examined. And I think those are important. For those of you, today was the first time I'd heard bits and pieces and I actually read through the Substack version of it, the printed version of it. But today I actually watched the Turkey Tom video. If you haven't watched that video, I think it's worth watching. I find it pretty compelling. Some of you won't. I find it credible. Again, some of you won't, and you can assess that for how you feel, what you think about it. Simple as that. Let me go back up here. I missed a bunch of questions. There's a discussion going on about the grandmother. Remember all the grandmas that say their boy who was just shot a bunch of people in a drive-by was a perfect angel, choirable. Yeah, like I don't take a lot of credibility from. I don't take a grandmother's testament. I don't know how. Look, my kids see their grandmothers once a year, and sometimes even maybe once every 2 years. One thing I did find interesting out of that Turkey Tom video is, and again, I definitely recommend that you guys go see that, watch it, and you can assess it for whatever you think it is. Let me see. Let me open this up. I took a screenshot of this because this is something that I hadn't seen before. And I will share an image file real quick. And we're going to go to downloads. All right. I'm going to share this file. This was allegedly, this was a, I don't know why it's not showing that. Add to stage. All right. Most conversations with him, he'd talk hunting, camping, gaming. He loved talking about fishing. So this is a person that is giving a testimony to Turkey Tom, sharing texts and things like that. And he's talking about basically Tyler. And, one of the conversations that he had with this person that on a regular basis was talking about hunting. So, clearly this guy had some experience. There was already some pretty good evidence talking about that he had been doing some shooting. So, hunting wasn't outside of the realm for Tyler. I don't know how many people have seen that video, but I definitely found it pretty interesting, to say the least.
I think a lot of these things are going to come out during the trial, whether we see it or not. But I think a lot of, we've got, a month and a half, 2 months until they post a date or something.
Yeah. You know what? Here's what I'll do as far as the Turkey Tom episode. I'll post a link down in the description real quick. And because it's right here in my history. Actually, I'll just post it right down. So this is the name is Charlie Kirk's Killers Discord. I believe that's the one. Yeah. All right. I'll post this link in the chat, and then I will ultimately post it in the description down below as well. So you guys can go check that out. Definitely worth watching. Yeah. I mean, when we're talking about a 22, 23-year-old kid, again, I was running around Iraq doing sniper missions at the same age. There's nothing crazy about it. I don't find it all that weird. I don't find this all that complicated or sophisticated. That's how I feel about that. Uncle Bush, let's fake a shooting of Charlie Kirk at an event with thousands of cameras we don't control. Brilliant plan. The lack of critical thinking is astounding. I definitely think there's definitely easier ways to do it if they were going to do it. And the argument is that they wanted to be in front of everybody. I don't know that really holds a lot of credence with me, and there's definitely no evidence for that. All right. Here's what we're going to do. All right. Jonathan Cross says, Jeff Johnson again, why are you believing that is evidence is my point when they have already got caught lying about evidence in the past. Jonathan Kroll, I would ask you or anybody else that would like to, please tell me where we found the FBI lying about evidence. I haven't seen any point where they've lied about evidence. I've seen a lot of people lie from social media for sure.
I agree.
We have 50 different theories. All right. All of that is either disinformation or misinformation. There's new ones that come out every single day. They have less evidence than what the evidence is that we have. We have some pretty good tangible evidence. And then we have eyewitness evidence that backs up what's going on. We have video evidence that's not from security cameras. We have video evidence from people showing someone on top of the roof. There's DNA evidence on the gun. There's DNA evidence on the cartridges. There's DNA evidence on the trigger. There's DNA evidence on the towel. Separately, we have an entire, if you go watch the Turkey Tom alleges that somebody that is friends with both Tyler and Lance, and he's talking about the whole thing, and he gives an account of everything that happened, and he even indicates he thinks that Tyler is the one that shot him. So we have corroborating stories outside of the official narrative, and the evidence of that is provided with text messages, and sure, all of that stuff can be fabricated. That's fine, but where is, we don't even have that. We don't even have that level of evidence pointing to anything else. All we have is circumstances and people's imagination saying, well, what about this? Or, well, Israel was cutting funding to Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was this, so therefore they killed him, or this or what. And I'm open to all that stuff, but there is zero evidence to say that. And I don't understand why someone would think that there isn't somebody out there crazy enough, given Charlie Kirk's stance on trans, on a lot of issues, that why is it so far-fetched that somebody would just say, you know what, they're already off a little bit. They're in this weird relationship with this transvestite furry that clearly is, that whole thing is weird for sure. Like a lot of stuff going on there. And, they decide that they're going to go be a hero and take this guy out. I mean, that is not outside the realm of possibilities. But when we get into some of these other ones, there's less evidence, less logic behind it. And I don't know where to go with that. And anything that's put in those charging documents, I mean, it's going to be cross-examined by the defense. It is. And the other thing that the closer we get to the trial and Tyler is still alive, to me, the less likely that he is indeed a patsy. I can't say for sure that he's not a patsy. I can't say for sure a lot of things. But there's a lot of good evidence that we already have, and we haven't seen even the tip of the iceberg on the evidence so far. So that's my thought. So Jonathan, if you have something that you can point to where the FBI has lied about evidence, I would like to see it. And I would like to see what's going on with that. Not in this case. I'm saying in past cases. What I mean is you've even referred to not trusting them. I understand that. But Jonathan, we have to assess, like, just because JFK was assassinated by our own government doesn't mean that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I mean, that's illogical. Like There's other things that happen that the FBI and our U.S. government isn't involved with sometimes. And again, the only way for us to tell the difference between, I just don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be lied to by the government. I don't want to be lied to by some social media grifter that's just, putting stuff out there to get likes, views, clicks, and all that other stuff. Like, we have to have some cognitive security. All right. CogSec check. We need that. And the 100%. Way to go about that is based on evidence. The reason that we have all come to the conclusion that JFK was assassinated by the U.S. government is because of evidence. The Zapruder film, rounds hitting the overpass, another round hitting somebody on the ground, and them being injured. There's a lot of stuff going on there based on evidence. But if you just go off of, well, they did it over here this time, they must have done it this time. I mean, that's how people end up on death row that didn't commit a crime. He was already a bad apple. It must be him. You're using the same logic that some police use to prosecute and persecute people that are innocent of this crime just because of using their past. Like, the fact is the U.S. government tricks us all the time. The U.S. government has committed all kinds of things against us many, many times. But we also have enemies that are political enemies that are using this to divide us, that are using this to undermine what little faith and trust that we have in the U.S. government. And like, we have to assess each of these individual cases separately. We can't just come to a foredrawn conclusion every single time that something happens. It's the U.S. government. That's how we get tricked. That's how we become gullible, and that's how we open ourselves up to misinformation, disinformation, and we go down a really dark path because everybody can trick us. All they got to do is use a little reverse psychology, be like, the government did it, wink, and then everybody's going to have this knee-jerk reaction. No, the government didn't do it, so we have to pin it on somebody else. And here's the other problem that I have is, like, it's a real problem when people are going through the crowd with zero evidence and pointing somebody out. Oh, they have a green hoodie on, they look suspicious, and now we're ruining these people's lives. We are working on character assassination with zero evidence. Nobody out there in the audience right now would want that done to them. That's just a fact. Like, if you just happen to be there and things outside of your control happen, and now you're getting blamed for somebody's death, like, that's not an American principle. Like, we've got to be a little bit more logic based. We got to be a little bit like, we got to leave emotions and preconceived notions at the door and assess each one of these events individually. CJ, you're welcome to stay. You don't have to, whatever you got.
I've got to get somewhere at 9:30. I still got 15 minutes. So,
sweet.
I'm fine. I agree with everything you were saying there. I mean, there's a lot of people that have a lot of speculation out there and theories and stuff, but, and everybody's free to, think whatever they want. I think the biggest problem is that people are putting things out there that are, with the use of AI and Photoshop and all these things, it's kind of like, clouding up, in my opinion, this whole case. And I'm afraid for what's going to happen in the future with a lot of things, especially with AGI coming out, which is artificial general intelligence, which, and actually it just started, kind of creeping up right now. It's pretty scary stuff. My best friend, he's a director. He was working on a movie about AI. He just finished it up with John Travolta just this past summer. And I was helping consulting on it, and I was like, hey, these, with all these different AI things and all these different things that people can do sitting in their own, living room, or in their bedroom or in their basement. It's a scary thing. And it's going to collude a lot of, justice as far as I'm concerned. And, I think everybody should watch what they do on their phones, block off as much, of these notifications and locations and whatever as best as you possibly can. Because, it could happen to anybody. And if anyone was a patsy or was, blamed for anything in the future, and I'm not saying that, in this case with Charlie Kirk, and Tyler Robinson, but if this is, I just hate for it to happen to anybody, any good person, in the future. I really would. There's too much going out there, and I've been in a lot of the industry where it is, a lot of development, a lot of engineers, And there's a lot going on out there that a lot of people don't even they're not even ready for, to be honest with you. And I think AI is good. I think it helps out a lot, but it can, a lot of people put a lot of stuff out there that's changing stuff, and it's really, clouding up everybody's,
Yeah.
critical thinking and decisions.
And the problem that I have, look, the problem that I have is when we're stuck believing something in spite of evidence against it, a lot of evidence against it. And that's the problem that I see with a lot of this going on. It's like, not only, and don't get me wrong, there's definitely some theories and things like that that we don't have evidence of, but we don't have evidence against. And I consider those plausible theories. But, when we're talking about, I mean, we talked about palm guns and iPhone guns and, drones flying overhead, shooting people with zero, not only zero evidence for, but so much mountainous evidence against for all kinds of reasons. For one, physics has a lot to do with it. Number two, just the fact that, you can't stand in the middle of the crowd, shoot a gun, and like the 30 people around you not realize what's going on.
I mean, they're going to feel it.
You can't shoot a palm gun from 20 feet, 30 feet away and actually aim and expect to hit somebody. And by the way, nobody around you say, hey, this guy just shot something. Same thing with the iPhone gun or whatever else. So, those things cause some major issues. And on top of that, then we get stuck looking into these things, and we're guided away from the truth. And I think there's some element here that is doing that. I think there's some engineering going on when it comes to this that is just mucking up the system. I think there's so much propaganda that is, there's the just people going to make content because it's going to get clicks thing. But then there are people out there, there are entities, foreign entities, political entities, you name it. There's all these people that are going to take advantage and capitalize on this moment and use it to cause real harm to people. And that's the problem that I have with some of this.
Yeah, I was watching a couple of videos on YouTube and X, and their headlines read, oh, this is the real thing that happened, or what was the one was the squib or whatever. Did the squib, these headlines. Look, I'm okay. I've been in the advertising industry for a while in my past. I understand headlines and one-liners. I know how they work, just like clickbait, but whatever. But a lot of people out there just take that and then go, oh, well, I saw this, this, thing that was posted. I didn't actually watch it, but I saw that, oh, they found this and they found out that, and it's probably this. And then people go running. They run with it. It's sad. I mean,
for 3 weeks after this event, I still had people down in the comments saying he was a right winger. It was your own people. These are leftists. But that was a left narrative that was pushed right off the bat, that everybody in the left was convinced of, oh, no, he was a right winger. He was far right. He was a groiper. All of these things were being said. And again, for 3 weeks, I was seeing that down in the comments of my videos. I'm like, dude, like, you are so far behind on this. Like, that has been well established to not be true. But if you're watching CNN, if you're watching MSNBC, if you're stuck in your own echo chamber of all the people that just regurgitate this nonsense, and same thing with some of these theories, they just have been perpetuated with no proof. And some of the stuff is like so easily disproven. We disproved a big thing that's been going around forever was that the 30-06 was a stock photo. Pretty much proved last night that was not a stock photo. The first time it showed up was September 10th or 11th on the internet. That is not a stock photo. That is almost without a doubt the photo of the rifle that was used, or at least was found in the woods. So, that was another thing that's been being pushed for a long time. GS70 Stealth says, follow the evidence, otherwise no evidence, nothing to prove. So either show it or cry at the end. Like, that has to be our guiding light, right? Like, that's what we have to go through. And like, we got to be truthful. We got to be honest. If you're going to speculate, that's fine. But you also have a duty and a responsibility. And I've said this the other night, and I'm going to say this again. if you're going to speculate that when you can't see something, like the guys behind the table saying, I can't see what they're doing, so my conclusion is they're back there killing him. Now, understand too, what we lose perspective of is there are actually all kinds of people all around that area. Like, we can't see what they're doing behind that area from that camera view, but there were a lot of spectators that actually could see what was going on behind that table. So, but if you're gonna speculate and say, hey, they were killing him, they were finishing him off, okay, you have a duty and responsibility to also say, all right, that's what I believe. The other option here is that they're rendering aid. They're actually packing that wound. They're doing some sort of medical intervention. And by the way, but when you just say that, people just hear that and they run with it and like, oh, yep, this person. And here's what happens on social media, and same thing on this channel and everywhere else. Like, people like you, they trust what you say, and whatever you say, they're going to run with. And that's why all of these social media folks, that if you're going to dip your toe into citizen journalism, you need to uphold yourself to some sort of ethics, honesty, and present all sides, which is why I've had multiple people on this show that I completely disagree with, that I think are wrong, but it's my duty to present that side to you. And that's exactly what this Wednesday we're going to have Blake Bednar's on. And he's going to talk about the fact that he believes that Charlie Kirk was killed by some apparatus in his microphone, and I want to hear him out. I don't think
how if it was in his microphone, how did it U-turn? I mean, this is a magic bullet. I mean, that's.
I'm going to wait for him to. I want to look. What I will say about Blake is that he is a serious guy. He's a smart guy. He doesn't seem prone to just believe in nonsense. He hasn't shared a lot of technical details. He said he will share those technical details with us Wednesday. I'll push back and challenge him a little bit, and sanity check him where I think is appropriate. I'm not there to like beat him up or to prove him wrong. He can come on the show, everybody can hear him, and then between what we say at the end of it, everybody can make their own decision, and that's what we're here to do. AJ Cottrell says, why was Joe Kent, former TFO guy and current director of counterterrorism, prevented by Cash to investigate for the terrorism charge? Folks, when you get into, well, first of all, Joe Kent is suddenly, this is just how government works in these different agencies and bureaus and things like that. If Cash said, hey, you know what, Joe, give me access to what you're running there, right? Let me audit you. All right. Joe Kent is going to put like, no, dude, you don't need it. We're over here. We're doing our job. That's how that works. Like, they got their own stuff to do. So if I was running the FBI and somebody, and I like Joe Kent, by the way, we were both at First Special Forces Group. I've never met him, I don't believe. But we were at First Special Forces Group around the same time. So I like Joe Kent a lot. I've watched a lot of his content. I watched him on the Sean Ryan show. Super admire the guy. Would love to have him on. Would love to just have an offline conversation with the guy. With that being said, if I was running the FBI and Joe Kent came in and was like, hey, man, look, we want to investigate your bureau. Like, no, get the fuck out of here. Like, no, like we got this over here. So, of course, there's going to be pushback anytime that happens. And it's not necessarily because of nefarious intent. It's like, we're doing our job, go over there. And if they want to get some sort of legal action involved and they want to have some sort of warrant or whatever else, that's fine. And by the way, it's Joe Kent may be able to open up his own investigation because it's basically out of the FBI hands now. It has now been taken over completely by Utah authorities. So that investigation is a state level investigation that was assisted by the FBI. And that's how that works right now. I've got another idea. Let's fake the moon landing. Oh, great idea. How many times? 7? What 7? Why not just fake it once? I don't know. Make it 7 more times, harder to fake. I don't know. I'm about 60-40 on the moon landing, Bungle Bush.
Same.
I don't think it'd be that hard to fake. Like, send a rocket up to orbit, but that's another conspiracy that again, I'm open to either one of those.
No, it's sending it up but getting it back.
getting it back and, running it on,
The amount of fuel that it would take to do that
I'm pretty sure this TV remote has more computing power than all of NASA back in the 60s and 70s. So, there's definitely some good incentive to fake that. Werewolf 6, great question. I saw the crowd ducking down and screaming. Then I heard from an eyewitness Charlie was shot in the neck. I couldn't get a clear view. There was lots of people there. Any statements made without an attorney will probably be thrown out. If you have ever seen how police do interrogations, they are highly manipulative. Well, we don't know that there wasn't attorneys there, to be honest with you. So there's that. And not if it's on, look, if it's recorded and all those things, if the mother and father are going in there and saying, according to the charging documents, they said they gave all kinds of indications that their son admitted to them, they're going to have a hard time, reeling that back. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what else to say.
I don't think that the prosecution and wants to mess up this with having false information out there to let somebody who may have actually done this. It's that's just my opinion.
Yeah. This is a good point and something that I've covered before. I'm struggling with the similar patterns for many of these shootings. Therefore, in my gut, it is not as simple as a single shooter. I think there is a similar pattern, and here's what I believe where there could potentially be a grain of conspiracy. Number one, I don't think that Tyler acted alone in that other people didn't know. I have a hard time believing that he didn't at least let Lance Twiggs know and some of his other online compatriots. That being said, I do believe, and we had BX on the other night, we talked about some of these things. Look, there are organizations out there, and I would put our government and other foreign governments into this, that have I don't even want to necessarily say mind control. We'll say psychological. We'll say psychological manipulation. They have psychological manipulation down to a science. I think it is very possible that they can look at different people and they can psychologically profile them from their online footprint, and then figure out which people that they can manipulate into doing horrific, acts. I think out of all of these theories, to me, it'd be a lot easier and simpler to manipulate someone like Tyler Robinson into committing an act than it would be to, get these highly top secret drones in the air, to create multiple trajectories that aren't going to line up forensically. Like, a lot of this stuff, if you really think about it, it just falls under its own weight because it's impractical and there's no evidence for it. It's illogical. And a lot of it's just sci-fi.
Well, and this was the purpose of the map of the 3D model, was to, say, it's everything leads to, the Lucy building, in my opinion. Okay. And, I know could be clean shots from, here and there, but you're looking at things that are way harder to pull off than from that Lucy building. And you've got evidence of somebody on there. You have video. Obviously, they have, the fingerprints and whatnot. You have somebody running off of it. That this was the, all these other things that people are talking about, which you're bringing up. It leads back to that Lucy building right there on the ledge.
I agree. I mean, from eyewitness accounts to supersonic event being recorded from phones, all of it goes back to the Lucy building. Ebony Tone, it has been a massive campaign to do everything to turn the focus off the trans furry lover. This is the op right here, folks. And I think this is what people have been sucked into. They're like, oh my God, Tyler is innocent. They're going to put a innocent parent. Like, there is no evidence of that. Like the amount of effort that has been put into this, the amount of misinformation, the amount of calculation that's been put into this to take all eyes off of two things. Number one, the actual suspect. And number two, the fact that the left has spent the last 10 years with their language intentionally trying to motivate and encourage people to do things like this. That is the language that they have been using. And we've seen it twice with President Trump. We've had 2 attempts on his life, and Charlie Kirk is right there as well. All Charlie Kirk is, it's the same person. It's just an easier target. He's not going to have the Secret Service level of security on Charlie Kirk. So, it's the same boogeyman. He's a racist. He's a Nazi. He's a misogynist. He hates trans. He hates LGBTQ. All of these things, and this guy has to be taken out. That is the underlying message behind everything that the left has been saying about Charlie Kirk before his death and after his death. And the other thing I want to point out is the amount of damage that's been done to TPUSA that would have not been able to be done while Charlie is alive has been manufactured and being able to put upon TPUSA with zero evidence that they're involved by using Charlie. People are saying, I love Charlie Kirk so much that I'm trying to undermine his message, destroy the company, the movement that he built up, because that's what they're doing. And that doesn't make sense to me. And again, maybe they are involved, but we don't have any evidence, and you're just mudslinging left and right. It's like it's the village pitchfork and torch mentality. Like, we got to get this guy, like, with nothing but emotion, no logic built into this at all, no idea of justice, no thought of, they're innocent until proven guilty. It's like, oh, we found this picture of this person. They look suspicious to me, a completely subjective thing in this crazy event that these people have never been in a traumatic, crazy event. And they're not acting the way that I think they should. So I'm going to launch their picture all over the internet. We need to find them. I mean, that puts those people at risk all over the place. And it's just un-American to do. I don't care. The problem that I have with all this is that, the cost of you launching these accusations and being wrong are more than people realize. And this is why we have went the last 250 years saying, hey, you know what? You're innocent until proven guilty. And you shouldn't be tried in the public court. I don't know what to say. There's right and wrong things to do, and there's good and evil. And there's a lot of evil taking place in all this. I don't know. I'll leave it at that.
I'm gonna have to cut myself here in a few minutes myself here, Gary.
Well, like I said, CJ, I can't thank you enough for all the effort that you put into this. Yeah, man. I mean, again, we appreciate it. You're a great American. We appreciate all the time, money, and effort that you put into this. And
I appreciate that.
I can't thank you enough. If there's anything that we can ever do for you, you let me know.
Well, if you need me to jump back on anytime, if you have any guests, I can run through, a few things for you. Sure. I'll be glad to. Just, give me a heads up. And if you want after, tonight, if you want to give me a holler tomorrow, if you want more stuff done to the map, let me know. I'll be glad to do it. I appreciate everything you do out there, and I actually appreciate your chat. I love their questions. Some of them are funny, and some of them are legit. But it's been very compelling watching your stream over the last several weeks. I thank you for doing that. And you're not too far away from me, so I need to come up and see
you're like 45 minutes away.
Maybe at that.
Yep.
I'm ready. Yeah, we're gonna have to mess around. I'm bringing my Ford truck though. Sorry.
Right. I'll have my Ford truck. Don't worry.
Oh, I thought you didn't like Fords anymore.
I don't, but I'm going to drive it till the freaking engine falls out of that thing. So we'll be driving until it doesn't drive anymore. All right, brother. Right, well, man, we appreciate you. Thank you very much, TJ.
Yeah, take care. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you later. Bye. All right, folks, you guys are stuck with me. Just me and me alone. We'll answer all your questions. Jonathan Kroll says, I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying, why are we trusting them at their word? Yeah, and Jonathan, I'm not beating you up personally with all that rhetoric, right? I'm frustrated at a little bit of, I don't know, like, just like we just need to have some common sense with some of the stuff. We shouldn't trust the FBI at their word, 100%, or any law enforcement agents. I could one of these days I want to get the civil rights lawyer on. I don't know if you guys watch this channel. I do all the time. I go down that rabbit hole of all these, where people are clearly getting their rights violated by law enforcement. It sickens me. That, number one, for all the law enforcement out there that go out there and risk their life every day, my hats are off to you. I love you. You all are great Americans. For those of you, for law enforcement out there, and if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it, that intentionally violate people's rights, you are worse than the criminals that you're putting in handcuffs. That's how I feel it. We, the people, have entrusted you with power and responsibility that we don't give to but a very small few. And you took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. That is your number one responsibility and duty. And when you are violating that in the name of getting the arrest or getting the bad guy, I have a real problem with that. So I don't take law enforcement of any type at their word. But what I'm saying is that now we have 2 months of evidence, a little over 2 months of evidence, and we see what's put in the charging documents. And some of this is not going to get verified until the trial. That's just a fact that we need to come to grips with. But with that being said, you can take all this evidence that is put in those charging documents. And again, I'm not taking those at its word either, but that is the only thing. Like all these other people that are promoting certain ideas, they are not going to have to stand and get cross-examined by a defense or the prosecuting attorney. And they are not subject to perjury and other things. What they put in those charging documents, that will be revealed to be true or not true. I suspect that most of us are going to be overwhelmed with the amount of evidence that they're going to pull forward out of this. And I suspect at the end of the day, most of the people that believe all these other narratives, after they see the evidence, that they're going to see that overwhelmingly Tyler Robinson it is what it is. I mean, that's what the evidence says. I could be completely wrong. Tomorrow, if something breaks, Gary will be the first one out there saying, you know what? I was incorrect on this. This new information come out. And I would love to catch the FBI or any other law enforcement agency intentionally trying to, commit a conspiracy or anything else. Like we need people to realize that we can't trust the government and that we shouldn't give the government the power that they have. Like we've gone way too far. And the more dependent that we become on government, the more power that they have over us. Like 42 million people apparently are relying on SNAP benefits. That's a problem. All right. And I think the main problem there is that the vast majority of them are able-bodied and could be out there working. There's definitely some of them that should be receiving SNAP benefits, we should be paying for their food, their housing, their lodging. I have no problem with that. I also have a real problem with us sending all the money that we do overseas to so many people. That's a real problem. We're $36 trillion in debt, and it's getting bigger every single day. We spend stupid amounts of money on really stupid things. So we shouldn't take them at their word. But when the evidence matches their word, but we're like, nope, I'm rejecting that. And I'm going with flying drones. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, but Gary, it took years for the evidence to come out. What if in 25 years similar information comes out about Charlie, then it's okay to not trust what we're told? No, that's not what I'm saying. So first of all, we're in a different world, right? We have cell phones everywhere. We have all these things. We have a lot of technology at our own hands where we can, this 3D model. We have things like this that we can kind of go with that. What I'm saying is that you don't reject you don't reject a lot of this evidence and go with something else with less evidence. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to have cognitive security, and you've got to like sanity check yourself and figure out, look, the biggest things that are going to hurt us are our own personal biases. There was a comment made today. Pride holds people captive. We need to realize when we're wrong and understand that. And that's from all aspects of that. Like the first couple videos I made about this, I said that Charlie Kirk was wearing body armor and I thought it deflected, and I was wrong on that. All right. And once I had definitive proof in my mind that I was wrong, that's the first thing that I came out and said. So, we have some problems there. Like you can't be emotionally attached to these things. Like there's so much going on, and there's so much, like everybody out there has now become a forensic analyst. Everybody out there has become a psychological behaviorist. They're trying to imagine, like there's so much craziness going on that doesn't have any logic, and it comes down to, well, I just feel this. Your feelings are wrong a lot of times. My feelings are wrong a lot of times. We've all done it. Like we thought, how many times have you guys misinterpreted a text message that was, you're like, oh my God, like how dare you be so rude? And, come to find out that's not what the intent of that person was at all. So our feelings are wrong. And it reminds me of, it's like one of the things I always hear about, and I'm a big fan of like the Bermuda Triangle stuff, right? So I've read a lot of books, especially when I was, this is mainly when I was younger. I don't know that I've read any lately, but they were talking about, flying planes, and like you got to trust the instruments, because a lot of times you'll have that plane inverted, you'll have all kinds of things the pilot can be doing incorrect, and they feel one way. They feel that they're at an altitude that they're not. So you got to look at something that's evidence-based, that's fact-based, that's physics-based, and say, you know what, I'm going to follow this. And sometimes we got to let feelings go out. Intuition should be listened to a certain extent, but when the evidence overrides what we feel, like we got to pay attention to that, or at least consider it. And some people are just rejecting it outright. This is what I'm talking about. All right. So why would it be illogical? The Mossad even has a list of political assassinations on Wikipedia. This isn't that uncommon. So I'm not sure why it's so hard to understand that governments can do it. Governments can do it. But just because Mossad does execute people, or any other government or any other interest, I think, I think we've had political parties in this country have done it too. But it doesn't mean that they did it on this one. Like, I think there is some really nefarious things going on behind some school shootings. I also think two things can be true at once, that some school shootings are just a crazy kid that got a gun that decided to do some really horrible stuff. Like those things can be true. And again, we got to assess each one of those individually and say, is there any evidence that Mossad was involved in this? And so far, not only do I not think that there's any evidence that Mossad was involved in this, Charlie Kirk may have had a falling out with Israel. He didn't necessarily become anti-Semitic overnight. And it's one of those things where, and all this happened in a very short period of time prior to this. Like, I don't think they would have escalated to like, okay, we got to assassinate him within a few days. Again, I could be wrong, but we got to stay evidence-based. As soon as there's evidence for that, then okay, but we can't just say, hey, we have this preconceived notion that Israel definitely did it, and we ignore all the other physical evidence that says they're not involved. I mean, we got to give credit where credit's due every single time. That's my point. The government has heart attack guns. That means that everyone who's had a heart attack was actually attacked by the CIA. That's the logic that I have a problem with. You're absolutely right. F3 UI Beghart. Good point. Oh my goodness. No evidence. What about the Google searches from Israel right after Smith-Hammer debate and the Charlie moderated in Tampa? Man, this is one of the biggest pieces of misinformation garbage that I've ever seen. And I can't believe that it's continuing to be perpetuated. I went through Baron Coleman's work. I have tried to replicate his work. It is non-replicatable. It is nonsense. It is not a journalistic tool. It's not that he's so brilliant that he's the only one doing it. The reason that no one else is doing what he did with Google trend data is because it can't be replicated. It is not historical data. Gravity bounce, I challenge you to go replicate his work. Now, I know the answer is going to be, well, Google, the Jews, everybody else. Like, he tried to tie me into Israel. Like, I've never been to Israel. I have no ties with Israel. All this other stuff. It's just the most actually, I don't even say tabloid. That would be a disgrace. That would be insulting tabloids. It is non-science. It's non-fact. It's dumb. It's idiotic. And that's what that data is. Go try to replicate it. Now, you know what? Let's do this. Let's just go ahead. And again, I have a whole video on this. I decided not to release because I wasn't as professional in it as I should have been. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up some of these searches that I did, that I've documented. So let's go through these things real quick. And these searches will change on you every single time. All right. You can't replicate them from day to day. And the idea, I've covered it before. Look, the idea that you have some sort of intel operatives that are using Google is the dumbest proposition I've ever heard. As someone that used to put target packs together and was deeply involved with that, there's classified systems that are much better search engines than Google that you can search open source things, but much better. Just like if you search a topic on Google and then you go to search it on Brave, you'll get completely different search results. Google's not a good search engine if you really want good detailed information or all the information. Google is going to, they're going to push the information they want you to see at the very top of the list. So, the idea that we have the very sophisticated government operatives and they're not using classified systems that are running search engines that are much more sophisticated, that are much more powerful than Google, and they're just going to Google search them without so much as a VPN. It literally is idiotic. But let me go ahead and pull up some of these searches that I have here. Because I have searches, the exact same searches, the exact same search criteria over multiple days, and I've never been able to replicate that. Now, on top of that, if you're going to say that Google's scrubbing them or whatever else, folks, you can go and you can search a completely generic topic. Find something that you find a hit on in Israel between 2004 and 2005. All right. And then go search that exact same topic the next day and the next day and the next day. Not only will you get different results, you're going to get completely contradictory results. It's silly stuff. I mean, it really is silly. Here we go. Google Trends. All right. Let me see what I got here. I'm just going to start throwing these up in here so I can show you guys these results. That's a video. Here we go. So this is me searching Baron Coleman on, hold on. I will pull this up for you guys. I do hate the way that Apple does this particular thing. Let me pull this down. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just share a screen. It'll be a lot easier that way. That way I can toggle through these things. I'll share my entire screen and share screen, entire screen. So share that. We will share, we remove this. We'll share that. I'll pull your thing down here. And let's open this up here. All right. So Baron Coleman that I searched in Israel. Baron Coleman, Israel, 420 to 10/9/25. All right. We got a hit July 23rd. 2025. All right. So there's that hit. The exact same search the next day. Same exact search. All right. We got nothing there. Baron Coleman. And by the way, I will show you. I don't know if I have it here. Let me see if I have it in this file. The first day that I saw this thing, October 28th, no search results. Same search criteria. And you can do this with 1,000 different things. Henry Dell searched Israel past 90 days. We got a hit August 23rd, whatever this is, right? So I don't know, probably the end of August sometime. Same search, Henry Dell. Past 12 months, nothing there. Israel, same exact search. The date criteria, and that's another thing. You can change the date criteria from do a specific date. Something might come up. What do we got here? Henry Dell, 420 to 99. This was the same search criteria that Baron Coleman put in. Completely different. And I bet we could search it right now. He searched Paramount Tactical in Israel, 420 to 99. All right, he got a hit. Nothing came up right here. Let's search something right now. Let's go to Google Trends. And I have a whole list of all his searches, and I tried to replicate them. Let's do Henry Dell. And by the way, the other dishonest thing that he did was the fact, let's go to Israel, is that he never told you another possibility when he came to Henry Dell. Israel. Let's go back the past, I don't know, 90 days. Nothing there. Israel. This is real-time stuff. Let's go past the past 5 years. All right, we got something here in April 2nd, 2022, Henry Dell. Okay, so what's another possibility of that? Let's just Google search the name Henry Dell. Let's see. Oh my goodness, look what we have here. We have a pop star, Henry Dell, that may or may not have been searched in Israel. Like it's junk science. It is absolute garbage. And the fact that he's trying to pass that off as some sort of journalistic tool, number one, that's unethical. When you're trying to tie people to conspiracy and murder, that is immoral. It's immoral. So stupid things as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, and by the way, you guys search Baron Coleman and see if he hasn't been an informant. I mean, that's something you might want to look into. Not that hard to find. If anybody's a Fed or if anybody's a disinfo agent, I mean, I wouldn't look further than that, because what he's doing, he's either incompetent or completely dishonest. Because I know literally during some of his live streams, he's refreshed his page or went back to a search that he just did and came up with completely different results and then just blows it off like, that's weird. Oh, to the next. So people watching him, you're either not confirming what this person is telling you. All right, that's a cogsec check right there. All right, it's easy. Go to Google Trends and see if you can come up with the same data that he comes up with. You can't do it because it's not historical data. I've talked about that on, I've pulled up the ChatGPT on that. Why is it that I get different results on historical searches from Google Trends? Look that up. Not that hard to find out. The problem is that people are easily tricked. All right, that's the problem. Is we want to believe something so bad, and we reject this idea so much that we're willing to go over to here to a much worse choice. I mean, that's what's going on, and that is a trick that disinformation agents use all the time. We got a couple super chats. Let's see here. For those calling drone conspiracy crazy, NPR published an article on 11/20/24 that discusses Israeli drones shooting small munitions into humans in Gaza. Okay. I mean, we know drones can do certain things. I don't know. Well, let's look that up. And by the way, Clinton Grove, there was something you asked me to prove the other night, and then I found proof of it on the next day or the next live stream, and I don't think you were in on the chat. I don't remember what that was exactly, but you should definitely let me know. And I'll pull that back up. So let's look up Israeli drones, NPR, whatever. Let's see if this is true. And let's get the facts behind it. Is Israel drones, NPR 2022. All right. Eyewitnesses in Gaza say Israel is using sniper drones to shoot Palestinians. Tel Aviv, Israel, the shelling isn't far from us at all. Fatma Dama, the shelling is on our street. The quadcopter is what, here, I'll share the screen so you guys can see it too. And don't get me wrong, I've never said it can't be done, but you're going to see these things. And the difference is here is that we actually have a, we're actually, let me see if it says share the screen. We have eyewitnesses because there's some physics problems there if you're using a drone. And the first thing is that you got to have it big enough to be able to carry a payload like a firearm. And if it's that big, you're going to hear it, you're going to see it. There we go. Boom. Share that. Make sure that you guys are seeing it. And we'll go through the article together. All right. I don't want to stay up to date. He says he and his son were walking in Rafah inside the Gaza. It was a quiet afternoon. There was no fighting nearby. He says when a sniper drone appeared in the sky and shot Sahar, who was walking up ahead, 2 men rushed to help him, but the quadcopter also shot them. Shakfa said the quadcopter kept shooting everyone who tried to help. He says 2 older women nearby were shot in the head. Shakfa tried to help them, but they were already dead. The Israeli military tells NPR it's unaware of the incident, which it says does not align with any of the IDF directives and protocols. Using the initials for Israeli Defense Forces, it says any suggestion that intends to harm civilians is unfounded and baseless. The drones would come down and pick off civilians, children, and we had description after description. That is, an occasional thing. That is not, an occasional thing. We came back from the day after the strike to recover bodies of our family, but the Israeli quadcopter started shooting at us. We weren't able to get to them. Dr. Abu Sita, visiting surgeon from UK, describes sniper drones firing on people as they tried to enter Al-Ahli Hospital in Gaza City. All right, so I would definitely like to look more into that. Again, I don't doubt that we have capabilities of doing this. Look, there's also a lot of misinformation or not good information that comes out from the Palestinian side too. So you got to take that, you got to weigh them equally, right? I mean, that's just a fact too. So interesting article for sure. We can look more into it. But that doesn't mean that that's what was used to shoot Charlie. I mean, I think this is a very real possibility, Mocha Matt, that there could be outside influence, and I don't know what those were. Look, I don't know that Ben Shapiro said that exactly, but look, we shouldn't be sending millions of dollars to Israel. I'm on board with that 100%. We shouldn't be sending any country millions of dollars every single day. Mm. Yeah, that's true. It was like within the week that he was killed that Charlie Kirk was pushing back in 2023, but he didn't say he was leaving the cause until 2 days later. Mm. Well, I mean, I would need some proof that there was cell phones on Israeli cell phones on campus. Um, like number one, there's 45,000 students on, and I've talked about this. You know, there's 45,000 students at UVU. I don't know how many are there every single day. I don't know what I don't know what the baseline is, right? I think somebody said there was like 11 or something that day. That doesn't even mean that there was 11 at that event that day. I bet there's some people there that have bought cell phones in Israel. But I don't know that. Like I don't know what the baseline is. I don't know if that was a lot for that day. Out of 45,000 students, how many people have, you know, it's like saying, oh, you know what, there was 50 cell phones in Jerusalem that were American based. Is that weird? I don't know. I do know that UVU does have a Jewish program there. I don't know if that weighs into it, but the fact is, first and foremost, we don't have proof of that. I don't know how they would prove that. That was a trust me, bro statement by Candace, and maybe she has proof of it. I don't know, but like, I don't know what that means. And then there again, I don't know what the baseline is. I don't know if that's a high number or a low number. Be more specific about that. How about the rest in peace, Charlie? Because most of these things that I've looked into ended up being false. Um, be more specific, and we can search it right now. I mean, that's why we do these lives. It would be stupid to think Israel did it. If Israel did it and it was proven to do it, they lose their biggest ally. Israel can't survive without the U.S. Yeah, like, I mean, to me, the juice isn't worth the squeeze on that. It doesn't even make tactical or strategic sense to take out Charlie. I think whatever disagreement that Charlie had, he was extremely pro-Israel. And whatever, if I was Netanyahu and I'm like, oh, hey, we've lost Charlie. Hey, man, don't worry about it. Pull his funding. That's fine. But you know what? We'll get him back in 6 months or a year. Just like let that cool down a little bit, and or let's see what happens. I don't think we go from, oh, let's pull their funding and let's just take them out. That doesn't make sense to me. Uh, I haven't seen this. I don't even know that this exists. That's news to me. Yeah, I mean, we don't know if that was VPN manipulated. Like I said, these assertions are made with no proof, and all it does is get people riled up. Like, oh, and nobody asks any questions. Like, okay, there was 11 cell phones at the place. Let's take that for face value. Is that normal? I don't know. I don't know, and nobody else does either. No, a 22 was definitely not used to kill Charlie Kirk, without a doubt. Like there was too much energy, too many things going on there. Yeah, Google Trends is really only accurate for trends that millions of people are searching for, not just one individual. I'll just say this, Donnie. I have tried generic popular terms and searched in Google Trends with very strict location and date parameters. And I've gotten hits on one day. An hour later, I get no hits for that exact same search criteria. A day later, I might get a completely different hit. An hour or two later, you get something completely different. Like, and again, I've shared. I mean, I got the Chat GPT thing for it. Let's pull that up too. You know, we'll hit this stuff over and over and over if we need to, and because it's important, right? Anytime that there's misinformation, um, you know, we need to put it into it. And this stuff is so easily proven too. All right. Again, I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to remove this, remove from studio. We'll share the screen, share screen. We're going to share the Google Trends data changes. Boom. And make sure that gets up there. I'm going to even big screen that thing so you guys can see it. All right, let's go all the way to the top here. So you guys can see my query, just so that you guys know I'm not pulling anything funny. Why do Google Trends data change when looking at the same data from the past? That's a really good question, and it confuses a lot of people, even researchers. Here's why Google Trends data can change when you look up the same topic or date range at different times. Google Trends uses sampling. Sampling is not a historical record, folks. I don't know if you heard that, but my phone was going off. I thought I had my ringer turned off. Anyways. Search volume normalization. And that's the thing. It just tells you 0 to 100. It's not even good data. And then here at the bottom, let's look at the very bottom of this. And you guys can search the same thing. The bottom line, somewhere in here, bottom line, core principles. This happens quick. Oh, there was a summary down here somewhere. Maybe I went too far. Yeah, bottom line. Historical Google Trends data changes because it's continuously recalculated, renormalized, and sample, not because Google is changing history. It's a dynamic model. All right. Dynamic model means it's constantly changing of search interest designed for direction and comparison, not fixed historical measurement. So therefore, if you're going to use it as some sort of tool for journalism, you're a fool. I don't know how else to say that. All right. Yeah, I agree. People weaponizing and monetizing his murder is pure evil. I'm saying that the answers on Google Trends are about as random as you can get. Search it yourself, Dan. Don't trust me. Don't trust Baron Coleman. Don't trust anybody. Like, proof their work. That's what we do. All right. True World says if Israel didn't do it, then Charlie faked it. Only thing that explains everything. Or, hear me out on this. We had a 22-year-old kid that was messed up in the head, that was dating a trans furry dude that decided to be his knight in shining armor and went and got his grandpa's 30-06 and shot Charlie because it wasn't that hard to do. All right. And a lot of evidence suggests that as well. I think I missed. No, we're good there. All right, back to the lives. Yeah, that's a. Yeah, I have a VPN so I can manipulate any country on searches. Exactly what an Israeli double agent would say. You're right. I've been lighting my menorah with the $100 bills they send me. It's fun. Data was scrubbed. I already covered that. Data was scrubbed. Again, you can do the exact. First of all, like ChatGPT says it. Nobody gives two flying Fs what Baron Coleman is pointing out. The whole thing is ridiculous. That again, government operatives are using Google. They're not. All right, I have to break your heart. All right, but again, use a generic term that they're not going to scrub. Find a hit, replicate that data the next day. If you can't replicate data, it's not data, right? It's a moving target. It's nonsense. It's as simple as that. This is exactly right. Acting like Google Trends is a valuable tool in this context is a good way to discredit yourself. You have no idea what Google Trends is even. Yeah. Con says, please like, share, subscribe. It helps Paramount Tactical Solutions channel by spreading the word about the knowledge learned here. We appreciate it, and it's the polite thing to do. I do appreciate that. Yeah. Google didn't erase any data, Dan. It's a moving target. It's a moving target. All right. They didn't erase data. Yeah, look, hey, if you want to cognizant dissident, just like he said, if you guys want to become a member, we're offering memberships. We appreciate that. And it helps support the channel and what we do. Gravity Bounce. I appreciate the response. I just recently tried to get spooled back up on the Kirk shooting. I stepped away about a week after it happened. Got too dark. I agree. It's stressful, man, covering this stuff. What about the allegation of receiving 10 million from Israel? Who and what? And I haven't heard this. There's a lot of allegations out there. So you know about classified search engines? Yes, Greg, I do. I'm a former Green Beret. It's what we used to do. We used to build our own targets, and then we used to go out and prosecute those targets. That's what I did for a living. So yeah, all right. Look up what Green Berets do. Special Forces. We find information on people. We run sources. We do our own intelligence. We do all of those things. We do target collection. We build our own link charts to who. Like, that's what we do, man. I've done that. That's what I'm saying. I've done this. I've searched multiple terms, generic terms. Feel free to do it yourself. I've done it. I've proven it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Dan, I don't know how many other ways I can say this. All right. So if it's not the government, then who is it? Who has the capacity to pull off something so sophisticated that they're going to do a international conspiratorial assassination of a public figure in the United States, other than the government? Who has that capability? And again, if they do have that capability, they're smart enough to use the VPN. They are. And they're probably not using Google either. Like, bro, listen to me, Dan. It's dumb. I don't know what to tell you. Go ask anybody that knows anything about intelligence collecting and say, do you sit around and Google search your targets or whatever you're trying to investigate? All right. It's silly. And do you do it without a VPN? If you do use Google, I mean, it's nonsense. Okay, so they gave Google a search code. You're not going to track their searches on their classified systems. I can tell you that. I don't know exactly what this means, but any real sources that have confirmed that there was a 12 Israeli phones on UVU campus that day? No, I have not seen any, and I've been looking for it. And again, I don't know. That may be true. I just don't know out of 45,000 people what the likelihood of 12 phones being from Israel are. I don't know what that number is. You think Mossad never talks to anyone else? I'm sure they talk to lots of people. I don't think that this was. You can't link data that changes to a conspiracy. Don't know how many other ways to say it. And if you want to believe that, AJ, you're gullible. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you want to believe that, you're believing that because you want to believe that. Please go do the testing yourself. Prove me wrong. All right. Come up, you Google trend Mickey Mouse in Israel or multiple other generic terms, multiple days in a row, or any other place. Done it all over. Like, it's super silly, man. There's like 1,000 reasons why that doesn't make sense. Um, looking through the comments. Clinton Grove, how's your buddy Baron Coleman doing with his slanderous accusations that Rob McCoy is responsible for Charlie's death? LOL. And I'm telling you, there's going to be some people hit with libel suits and defamation suits and all this. You know, I don't know what to say. Why was my name searched? Yeah, because I'm very vocal about not sending Israel any more money, or it's just some weird anomaly thing. And I don't think you're, I hate to break to you, AJ, I've never heard of you. I don't know that Israel is tracking you personally. Baron doesn't act like a lawyer. I won't hire him at all. Achilles says, thank you for your common sense answers to the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk. The information and misinformation were on steroids moments after he killed. God bless you and yours from North Carolina, USA. Thank you, Achilles. Appreciate it. Good citizens are compliant citizens that always believe what the government tells them. No, good citizens are those that sanity check and critically think any information that they're told. All right. The lies about everything started long before, through MSM and everybody else. We have been infiltrated by something, right? Like, I don't know, again, I don't know if it's just people grifting and spreading misinformation, but I've gone through the full list of all the lies that you've been told on this channel multiple times that we know that have verified these are false things. And those all of those lies, that misinformation, that disinformation, it didn't come from the government. It came from the social media. And those are just facts. We don't have to like those facts. They didn't come from the government. And right now, I haven't found one thing that the government's lied about on this. I just haven't. So, I mean, whatever, and I'll go down the list again. Let's pull this up. I'm going to go down the list of all the things that we've heard lies of, and this isn't a complete list, but Tyler Robinson was a right winger. We heard that for 2 weeks. Tyler Robinson was never at UVU. He was. Crime scene was paid over 24 hours later. It wasn't until 3 days later. Landscaping work was done by Matt Robinson, who is Tyler's father. That was a lie. Charlie Kirk was shot by someone in an underground hatch. That's impossible. The underground hatch is as far to the left. Charlie Kirk was shot from another location or direction. At least none of the proposed alternatives provide any evidence of that. All the physics, movements, and supersonic audio capture indicates a frontal trajectory. Surveillance footage from Rooftop was AI because pedestrians disappear behind the tree and there's no shadow on the rooftop. I proved that wrong while I was there. There was a camera gun. That's silly. A palm gun, also silly. People loved it. They believed it. Charlie Kirk was not taken to the nearest hospital. He was taken to the nearest hospital that had traumatic injury capabilities. All right. The next nearest hospital that was a level 2 trauma center was Utah Valley Hospital. That was 10 to 12 minutes, almost double the time to Timpanogos where they went. There was a bush shooter. All right. A shooter from the 3rd story landing and the Brandon Fugel Gateway building. Also a false. There's no footage of Tyler Robinson taking the shot. That is false. You just haven't seen it. There was no autopsy or medical examiner's report. That is false. There is an autopsy and a medical examiner's report, and the FBI has it. There was no blood on security staff providing aid to Charlie behind the table. That is false. There was. We saw pictures of it later on. Charlie Kirk faked his own death. That's silly. That's false. That also wasn't provided by the government. Drones that no one can see or hear killed him. All right. There's significant physics problems with this. A drone big enough to carry a payload like a projectile would require significant lift and need to be very large. It would be easily seen and heard. And a lot more. Like every time I do this list, I end up sitting down and thinking about 10 more things that just aren't true. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Those weren't from the government. The government lies, but I'll tell you right now, the internet is lying a lot harder. Also, the slow-mo close-up shots show his body moving, but the wound is not seen. True world, simple explanation for this. What we're looking at is an extremely high-speed, energetic event. All right? There is so much mist in those 30 frames when we're talking about a gunshot. All right? What happens is he gets hit, his shirt ends up going up, and then when his shirt comes down and that view is unblocked, now we see the wound. I mean, there's nothing crazy about that. Yeah, of course he said the data has been removed since the searches. It was after I called him out on that, by the way. You can't go like he's a disinformation agent, period. Somebody said I got money from Israel. I've never gotten money from Israel. This is so dumb. Like I've said this once, I've said this 1,000 times. I've been to combat 4 times for this country. I love this country. I would die before I took any money from any country, and I would die before I took any money to change my views. What you hear on this channel is what I have to say. They're my thoughts. They're my views. That's it. I would not betray the principles on which I fought for this country for. I have friends that have died. I have friends that have wounded. I have friends that came back mentally, emotionally, and psychologically messed up. Like there's not a dollar amount on this earth. What this is this is more character assassination because they can't come onto my show and have a cogent argument against anything that I say because I stick to facts. They don't, so they go with character assassination. It's the same thing that when liberals call you a racist or anything else. That's what we've been reduced to in this discussion because you got nothing intelligent to say. So they're going to go after you personally. I don't care. This is another Sunday. You're saying now that I received a bunch of money from Israel? Get out of here. You're freaking nuts. Because it came up. And look, we're going to address the stuff that even I think are ridiculous. And we're going to try to do our best to do it with some respect until you start accusing me of betraying my country. Like, call me a traitor. Get the F out. Why would they look for specific names of places 2 weeks before? I don't think they did. That's what I'm telling you. I don't think they did. Yeah, the data has been deleted. That's very convenient. Brett, I did Google Trends and it changed 30 minutes later. The data has been deleted since he's released. Look, if you guys believe that, I'm just telling you, you'll believe anything. I don't know what to tell you, man. You guys need to do some serious cogsec checks. I didn't know that you were even like, it's so bizarre. I didn't even know that's what you were accusing me of, that I received money from Israel. I've already addressed it. So ridiculous. Yeah, that is the takeaway. Trend results are never reliable. Do people think they get altered at some point? Why the variance? Again, appreciate the response. That is what this says. Let me reshare the chat GPT answer on this so that we can see what's going on here. I hit the wrong button here. Boom. All right. Chat GPT. The query is, why do Google Trends data change when looking up the same data? That's a good question, and it confuses a lot of people, even researchers. Here's why Google Trends data can change when you look at the same topic. Google Trends uses sampling. It doesn't store or show all search data. Instead, it takes random sample at total searches to generate the trend data. Each time you run a query, it may sample slightly different data, so results can vary a bit, especially for smaller time windows or niche topics. I mean, continuous data refresh. So what you saw last year for 2016 to 2020 might slightly differ today because the system reprocessed that range. And again, it'll show you Google Trends is not a fixed historical record. It's a living, resampled, normalized data set meant to show relative search interest trends, not exact figures. Minor fluctuations are normal and expected. So it's a real problem when you go search something one day and you're like, oh, this proves X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you're trying to prove. And the very next day you search the same thing, it gives you wildly different results, or it doesn't give you results at all. And that's what you'll find if you use Google Trends and you try to search any particular topic over any date range, over any location. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. That is the real problem. America has been reduced down to pointing fingers at each other, all the while the real perps are walking away laughing. Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I will take ChatGPT's word on this over Baron Coleman's for sure. So there you go. I'll leave it at that. Looks like we got one last. One last super chat that we'll hit. Unfortunately, stupid people say stupid things. Trolls are annoying. Love your program. Thank you for your service. P.S. I miss Marcus. We need to have Marcus back on here. Don't hassle me. Local in Orem. Have family attends UVU. UVU is 7 minutes from Timpanogos Hospital and is a level 3 trauma center. UVU is 9 minutes from Utah Valley Hospital and it's a level 2 trauma center. There you go. So I've actually taken multiple times the matter of fact, I had them in this document from exactly where they were, and I get a little bit different. It's about a 4-minute different from the place that they were exactly between the two. So again, what we know is that Timpanogos is closer than Utah Valley. So there's that. There's that. All right, folks. Well, I think we're going to close it down. We've gone 2.5 hours. Hopefully, you guys are able to download that 3D model. And I appreciate everybody's support, love, and even those with all the hate. Keep hating. It's okay. It's not going to stop me. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep telling the truth. That's what we're dedicated to on this channel. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be evidence-based. We're going to stick tight to ethics, honesty, and we're not going to push nonsense like Google Trends. And I'm telling you folks, you need to, if people are telling you, you know, if I was sitting there listening to Baron Coleman, I would be right there with, I'd be like, all right, let's type this. Let's see if this works. And apparently nobody did that. I don't know what to say about it, but anyways, be on the lookout. People are trying to trick you for lots of different reasons out there. The government will definitely try to trick you, but there's a lot of other enemies that will do the same thing. Political, ideological, foreign actors, like they're surrounding us, folks, and the government's not the only problem. So we got to assess everything individually and make good decisions on what's true and what's not true. Listen, folks, I hope you have a wonderful week. We do have Veterans Day tomorrow, right? I believe it's tomorrow. So make sure you guys have a wonderful Veterans Day. Thank you all for your service. Thank you all to not only the veterans out there, but the families that supported them, especially to those that were deployed and or even if when they were in active duty. That's it's a tough thing for families of veterans. So I appreciate your service very much. And I want you guys to have a great week. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you.